Hello everyone, this is the Yamato Stitcher. This channel is about all things cross stitch. If you are new here, welcome. If you like what you see, please come back and see how I'm progressing with my projects. If you are a returning viewer, I'm so happy that you came to share some other time with me again. Today, I would like to do a review for 2021 and talk about my 2022 goals. So first, I will show you my finished projects in 2021, then my current works in progresses, my WIPs, then my plans for 2022. First, I will show you my finished projects. In 2021, I finished 5 projects. Some projects were not started in 2021, but I counted the projects that I finished in 2021. The first one is this one. This is the villain character from a game called The Legend of Zelda. His name is Ganondroff, I think, in English as well. I only know the Japanese version of it, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. There are a lot of titles from the Zelda series, and with every title, Princess Zelda, Link is the main character, and this Ganondroff are always there. The 3 characters are always there. The stories can be different, but the 3 main characters has to be there. And I've stitched Princess Zelda and Link the year before and thought I needed the last character of the trio and charted this myself. This is stitched on a 20 count Lugana moss green over a 2/1 tent stitch, and took me about 40 days to finish it. And I quite like it. I'm not sure if it was my tension or the fabric, but only Ganondroff turned out a little slanted, so that was the only downside of this project. Princess Zelda and Link turned out okay. Even if I used the same fabric and same tent stitch. The second finished piece is this one. This is a kit from Riolis called the Autumn Holidays. It's stitched on a 14 count Aida 2/1/1 mixture of full and half crosses and some back stitches. This kit took me around 150 days to finish. This kit was my first wool thread project. I struggled until I found out how to deal with them, but now I like its fluffy look. I have 2 more wool kits from Riolis in my stash, so if I could start one of them in 2022, that will be great. The third finish I made is Sea Beauty by Dimensions. This is just an ordinary kit from Dimensions, not a gold one or a gold petite, just a normal one. It's stitched on 14 count Aida. I believe it's the color tan. Again, 1 or 2 strands over 1 fabric strand. Full and tent stitches with quite a lot of back stitching. It took me 36 days to complete this project. There were a lot of back stitches, but the Dimensions kit back stitches are very important and it makes such a difference. And there were a lot of back stitches, but every back stitch made a great significance to the picture, so I enjoyed it. It was okay. The fourth finish was a kit from PANNA called the Polar Bear. It's stitched on a 14 count Aida 2/1 full crosses and just a tiny bit of back stitching in the eye and the mouth. Maybe the nose, I forgot. This took me about 115 days to finish. Not a lot of colors, but nice background. It's not a full coverage, completely full coverage, because I didn't stitch these parts. This polar bear white was stitched. I wish the polar bear might look a little smarter, thinner, but I think it's okay. The mountains are beautiful, even though there are a lot less colors than I expected. The last finish is a picture from an animation called Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba in Japanese. And these two characters are the main characters, Tanjirou and his younger sister Nezuko. This project too didn't have a lot of colors, but turned out quite nice. I like it. This is stitched on 18 count Aida. Fabric color is Confederate Gray 2/1 full crosses, and this took me 167 days. The reason I chose this fabric color is because I didn't want to stitch the background. This is all background. All background. There were some stitches in the middle, like here and here, inside the hair, that uses the same color as the background. But I decided not to stitch every stitch of that color to save some stitches, so to save some time, and to keep the nuance that the original picture had. The original picture looks like it's drawn with a special brush, which are used for certain ink we call bokuju in Japanese. I tried to find out how to say it in English, and it said it's India ink, but I'm not sure it's quite right because I've never seen India ink before, for real. And I think if you imagine our charcoal, grind it into powder in thin watery ink, you can kind of guess what kind of image it has. Okay, and these are the 5 finishes I had this year. I hardly FFO my project, finally finished my project, so put them in frames or make them into blankets or pillows or anything. Because I have no space, for one thing, I just pile them up flat, all my finished projects up flat, and roll it away them together. All of them together in a big roll. Maybe you're thinking I've been doing various kits from different companies, and yes, I'm trying out a lot of companies' kits. Just out of curiosity, I want to know the differences, and I have more kits waiting in my stash. When I will stitch them, I'll talk a little bit in the future plans. Okay, now quick plans. I would like to show you my work in progresses, but before that, I would like to talk about my overall plans for 2022, because I want to talk how much I want to stitch in which project, and so forth. My goal for 2022 is to stitch more than the year before. This year's goal was the same, and I have been able to achieve it. In 2020, I stitched 209,000 stitches, about 209 stitches, and I stitched 215,000 stitches so far. And if I keep on stitching at the same pace until the end of the year, I will probably get close to 220,000 stitches. So for 2022, my goal is to stitch over 220,000 stitches. And with that, I would like to show you my WIPs. There are currently 8 WIPs, and I will show them from oldest to the newest. My oldest WIP is Lady and the Tramp. This is a kit from MCG Textiles, based on the picture of Thomas Kinkade. Unfortunately, MCG Textiles doesn't exist anymore. This is stitched on 36 count linen, 2/1, full cross, and it has quite a lot of back stitches. The kit included 18 count Aida, but seeing a lot of fractional stitches, I bought a linen that would be equivalent to 18 count to stitch with them. I'm using the threads included in the kit, but there was one thread missing, so I looked for a similar color for my stash, and I'm using it, and it hasn't been a problem yet. But it's a color that is used in Tramp, his body color. So I just have to wish for my luck. I started this kit on 2020 March 8th, and I am about 50% done. I've been stitching a quarter of the chart every year, so I guess I could stitch another 25% next year. Okay, this is my second oldest WIP. This is Japan Garden by Dominic Davison. No, Davison, sorry, not Davidson, it's Davison. Charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's stitched on 25 count Lugana, 1/1 full cross. And I'm about 14% finished with this chart. And if you have been watching my videos, you can notice that I have no more hanging, dangling threads anywhere, because I've stitched them all up and made a full giant triangle, and now I'm starting to make it bigger. That's one yay for me, and I thought that was going to be my 2022 goal. So I completed that, and I think my new goal for next year will be to stitch about 30% of this chart, because I'm 14% now. So if I could reach 30%, that'd be great. If I reach 40%, that'd be even more great. And the faster, not that I'm rushing, but the faster I complete this chart, I can get to the next chart that I want to stitch from my stash. I started this chart in May 24th, 2020. So it's about a little more of 1.5 years. So if I keep on going with this pace, it'll take me over like 7 or 8 years more. So I think that's too long, and I want to make it shorter. So I will be setting a goal a little bit higher than last year, because I didn't set any goals on this one. I was just thinking, maybe 100 stitches a day, and that will make me blah 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 blah, and that was too loose. That wasn't just a, it was just like a preference thing. So this year, if I could stitch 100 to 200 stitches a day, I think I'll be able to reach 30%. Well, if I do 100 stitches a day, I won't reach 30%. So I have to do a little more than 100, and meaning that it's every day, because last 1.5 years, I didn't do 100 every day. So I would like to reach that goal. Yes, and I just love the way it's coming out, especially these fence areas are really great. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of the shrine roofs. And yeah, watch the space. My third WIP is a kit from Lanarte called the Asian Flower Girl. This is stitched on 27 count even weave, 1 or 2 over 2 full crosses with some back stitches. I've done a little bit of a back stitch on her eyes and her lips. I started this kit on March 16th, 2021, and am now about 60% done. So if I'm guessing, I can finish this within 2022. But if I can finish it by March 16th, that means I stitched it within a year. So I think I'll aim for that. Yes. I got a lot of red stitching to be done. And if I don't get bored with the colors, I think I can manage it. The fourth WIP is Thistle Birds from Modern Folk Embroidery. This chart was only published in a Japanese embroidery magazine called Stitch Idees. I'm stitching this on 30 count linen, raw linen, 2 over 2 for full crosses. Now, I was stitching this during my daughter's gym classes once a week because this is in one color. I'm stitching this in one color. It would be a nice one to carry outside. But I stopped stitching in mid-October because I suddenly had this urge that I wanted to stitch a QS Haid chart to get a Haid finish. I wanted a Haid finish. And I'm now taking that Haid project to the gym classes. So this has been in my stash for a little while. Right now, I don't want to have any set time. I don't have any set time I can stitch this. So I need to think of how and when I'm going to stitch it. But I would like to finish this in 2022 because I don't want to leave this unfinished. Yes, I'll have to think of something. I started this on May 14th, 2021, and I'm now about 20% done. I think I stitched about 10 hours or so far. So if I stitch 40 more hours, that should be able to get this done. Oh, fingers crossed. Yep. The next WIP I'm going to show you is the Epic Pokemon Generation 1 piece, stitched on 25 count Lugana 1/1 full cross, started on May 20th, 2021. I have 5 Pokemon stitched right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's about 3% done. Yes. I've been constantly stitching this for a couple of months after I started it, but I stopped. I wanted to stitch on it, but I think my mind isn't heading that way because of my current interest heading toward the big hate project. So I'm not going to set any big goals on this one. Maybe stitch 10 more Pokemons. There are 151 Pokemons in the first generation, so if I can stitch 10 more Pokemons, that's about 10%, right? Do you think that's a good progress? I think I will change my plans accordingly, depending on how I progress with my other WIPs. Yes. The 6th WIP I have is Totoro. I showed this on the last video and hasn't been touched since then. This is stitched on an 18 count Aida, dyed by myself using teal dye, 2/1 full crosses, started on May 30th, 2021, and about 3% done. This is like a resting piece from the confetti haze and other monotonous pieces. So I'm not sure if I'm going to set a goal on this one, but if I were to set a goal just for fun, I would set it to about 25%. And I think that's like 50,000 stitches, 15,000 stitches. Yes. The next WIP is a project I have never shown in my past videos. This is a mystery cell from Modern Folk Embroidery, and it was published on the Stitch E-Day magazine that I mentioned before. It was a 3-part mystery cell, and currently only 2 parts are revealed. I'm stitching this on 30 count raw linen 2/2 full crosses, started on October 21st, 2021. And I'm nearly 8% done. This project is my office lunch break project. When our 3rd lockdown lifted, my company decided people should gradually start to come back to the office, and I'm back in the office 2 days a week, and with those 2 days I'm stitching this during my lunch breaks. As with the same reason as my daughter's gym class project I mentioned before, I thought it would be easier to bring stuff to the office because I'm going to stitch this in one color. Since the 3rd part is being revealed in the spring, next spring, I was thinking I could somehow catch up around the same timing and start the 3rd part, then finishing it within 2022. Yes, that's my plan. Okay. The last WIP I'm going to show you is QS Hanging There by Karen Middleton, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm stitching this on 25 count Dublin, which is an even weave linen. And I have to be a little bit careful with this fabric, but it's coming out nicely, I think. I just wanted to challenge various fabrics. I started this on October 27th, 2021, 5% done. Stitching while I watch my daughter's gym classes. Shortly after I started this chart, I came across Vani's channel, Thread the Needle, and found out her stitching cross-country within the diagonal method, and I'm trying it out. I tried it on the other Haid, but it didn't work out. It was just too hard to pierce through the fabric. But it's working on this one. I can do it on this one. I don't know, maybe it has to do with stitching with one hand or two hands, or maybe the fabric is different. I don't know. With this chart, it would be nice if I can finish it in 2022, but no pressure, so maybe stitch it up to 50%. I think that will be a nice goal. So those were the 8 WIPs. Now on to the 2022 plans. As I said before, my only specific goal is to stitch more than the year before, and I'm from which project, it doesn't really matter. So just the stitching count, that matters. But just to see the total stitches of the 8 WIPs goal that I had briefly talked about, I did some calculation and I added up the numbers, and it added up to about 150,000 stitches, which means I have about 70,000 stitches free. Well, it's not free, every stitch is free, but you know, just for the calculation, 70,000 stitches are not really planned specifically. So with those stitches, I guess I can start a new kit, especially the ones I got from Frozilok that I showed you in the last video. And I'm thinking of a new start from a new chart company I've never stitched before, and I haven't shown you this chart to anyone yet. Or just keep working on my WIPs to get more finishes, because the more finishes I have, more starts I can have. And I'm so excited to start a new year. I hope it's going to be a fun year. Now, it was nice that I reviewed what I did in this year and organized what kind of status I was in with each of the WIPs. I got to plan how I want to stitch them and which of my charts from stash are the ones that likely to be started after which finish, and so on. Now, what are your plans for next year? I would like to hear them. I would love to hear what your plans are. So please comment, feel free to comment. I hope you will have a great new year. Stay safe, stay healthy, happy stitching. Bye.